Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. And we have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's going to actually be a viewer requested match. That's right. So we have got ANIBot taking on one of the other sort of up and coming bots. It is Aeolus. I do hope I'm pronouncing that one right. Maybe it's Aeolus? 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 Anyway, yeah, these two have both just been a lot of fun to watch and very exciting. So naturally someone suggested, let's see them go head to head. And that's exactly what we're going to have happen here. Now this one is starting off with a bit of a cheeky cheese though, as ANIBot elects to go for a Proxy Racks all in with a 35% confidence rating, which funnily enough is actually the highest confidence rating I think I've seen from ANIBot. So it must just be starting to collect that data and properly track that. So that's actually a great marker for us on this video, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't already, click that like button. If we can get 35 likes for a 35% confidence, that would be amazing. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches. And then subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And let's see here, as this one goes on, we do have Aeolus one basing it, building the pylon in the mineral line again. That's unfortunate, as it is indeed blocking this mineral patch. I imagine eventually the mineral patch will be accessed once that other mineral patch mines out. But until then, that is lost mining time from the Protoss bot. There is, however, a single Stalker on the way, so this is going to be a very, very big test of the micro of Aeolus, because Stalkers can, in theory, deal with Marines, as, I mean, they can kite them indefinitely, but ANIBot is already starting that assault, as it says. And here we go, as the first few Marines are going to move on in, 5 in total. Moving forward, now the Stalker of Aeolus does move to the low ground. That's actually quite important as it begins engaging these Marines. You want to engage early, as far out as possible, so you've got more ground to retreat on. Now, ramps can make pathing very, very tricky. This one Stalker does get backed into a corner against that mineral wall, as Aeolus is trying to micro that Stalker away from there. There is, however, 3 more Marines coming on in. There is another Stalker about to finish, though, so that's a big deal. The Stalkers do come out ahead. This one is still alive, as the Marines focus on the pylon and kill that. Aeolus is actually a little bit supply blocked. It doesn't seem to be adjusting its build based on the situation it's in, as it just goes for that Nexus. Now we do have another Stalker being cornered. That one does go down. The one at the natural has gone down, so it is presently just one Stalker for Aeolus, and it's got a lot of work to do as the Nexus goes down. I believe that was a kill, not a cancel. Warp Gate is about to finish up for Aeolus, so that could potentially save its bacon here if it can, say, finish up these 2 Stalkers it's producing and then warp in a few. That could be a big deal. ANIBot, meanwhile, saying building final supply depot, so I guess that's just the max supply it's going to hit. Unfortunately, that Stalker does pop out on the wrong side of things. Now, another Stalker does begin warping on in. Presently, it is 15 Marines against 2 Stalkers. The Stalkers do have some ground to kite. This one going down would be a big deal. It's so close. That one barely stays alive. We do have more Stalkers warping in, and that is really, really huge for Aeolus, as ANIBot's Proxy Marines are trying to wear down the Protoss. Now, that injured Stalker has regained some HP. Unfortunately, it does go down, as the shields didn't quite regen enough. These other 2 Stalkers are being cornered, and it's just Marines non-stop from ANIBot presently. These probes are trying to avoid the threat. Another Stalker's warping on in, but the loss of the mining time for Aeolus is very, very unfortunate. It's also about to lose 1 gateway. Fortunately, it does have another one about to finish up. That Marine that was causing all the problems does get taken care of. Another Stalker's warping on in. This is a very, very crazy rush. A lot of those Marines are low on HP. These ones are being distracted by the gateway, which is both good and bad, because Aeolus will lose a gateway. Fortunately, it wasn't the one that had that Stalker warping in. Now, these Stalkers are trying to kite against the Marines. Unfortunately, there's not that much room to retreat. This one just needs to kill that Marine and try and stay alive. There's only one gateway for the Protoss. Stalkers are actually splitting these Marines quite nicely. That one kind of goes on a bad walk, though, as it tries to target a Marine. Going for the injured ones is what happened there, but this is so close. Aeolus is holding on, it seems, for now, as it's 3 Stalkers against 14 Marines, just non-stop Marines. ANIBot is having its Marines be caught up on these buildings of the Protoss, which the Protoss bot is more than okay with. That Stalker low on shields needs to regen. This one low on shields needs to regen. There is another Stalker that just warped on in. These two need to be so careful. That one does catch a few bullets, and it probably is going to go down. It's running for its life, though. This one potentially picks off more than it can chew as it retreats from one Marine into a bunch of others, and Aeolus is desperately trying to hold on here as the Stalkers do their thing, microing. +1 attack actually just finished up for the Stalkers. I genuinely don't know how much of a difference that makes against Marines as far as the number of shots it takes to kill them. And unfortunately, one of the Stalkers just walked into the Marines. Looks like Aeolus is out of units. The Nexus is probably going to go down. ANIBot saying, pull the boys being capitalized. And I do think that the blue Protoss has gone down. Man, oh man, that was looking like such a close game. So close to the Stalkers snowballing, but not quite, as Annie takes it. Actually force Aeolus GG's. It doesn't wait for all its buildings to die. And so this is the time we reveal that this will be a 2-parter video, ladies and gentlemen. All right, now here we are, ladies and gentlemen, into another match featuring ANIBot. This time it's going to be taking on a very difficult opponent, and that opponent shall be Changeling, the random bot, made by the developers of Aeolus, which is pretty much the best bot out there. Top 1, top 2. And yeah, they've sort of taken their experience programming 3 bots and created a random bot. Now, I do believe they are trying to have some more variety in their random bot than just combining their 3 bots into one, which is very cool. For example, Changeling is rolling Terran this time. We have seen Changeling go for like Mass Reapers, which is a build I don't think we ever saw the Terran bot Phobos do. So it is cool to see that bot authors do have fun changing things up. Now, ANIBot is quite a chaotic bot right out the gate, as it does tell us it's going ghosts with a confidence rating of 5%, which I do believe is its minimum. Now, there is, let's see, 3 racks on the way for ANIBot, which is very bizarre. It doesn't seem like Ghost, as you kind of need some gas and a Ghost Academy, which requires gas in order to build Ghosts. So ANIBot going for an interesting opening, as it does have that 1 racks finishing up, does block its opponent, then says access denied. So yeah, this should be a really fun match between these two, as Changeling goes for a Reaper. ANIBot does have that Marine on the way. I think it's fair to say that Changeling is probably weakest with Terran, which might make this an even more even match than you'd think, because like you think of Aeolus, you think of Phobos, and they do not lose a lot of games. Yeah, that's just a fact that they are phenomenal bots. So rolling of Terran is probably a good thing for ANIBot. Now we do have a expansion on the way for the blue Terran, as it just goes for a couple Marines. So 3 racks opening is so interesting. No gas yet, just building some Marines. Finally, we get a gas on the way. And yeah, I mean, having Marines is good. That's one of the things that I've sort of learned the more Starcraft I've played and kind of taken note of, is that Marines are never bad. If they're just rounding out an army, like if you have an active or an inactive barracks and a bit of change in your pocket, build some Marines. Like they can round out pretty much any composition and just give you that bit of beef and supply and DPS that you need to turn some fights around, even if they don't really sort of mesh well with your composition. Now we do have 2 Reapers going in for Changeling. ANIBot is trying to chase those down, And looks like the Reapers will be shown the door as they do go to the natural command center. If they can delay that, that would be a big deal. A Hellion's actually coming on in. Looks like ANIBot does finish up that command center just barely. Marines are now coming in to respond to the Hellion and the Reapers. I'm wondering if we'll get a bunker from ANIBot, as it is a bot that I believe does build bunkers from time to time. Hellion of Changeling does have a bit of poor micro, eats some shots that it probably shouldn't have. Marines, meanwhile, are chasing the Reaper of Changeling. This is some very interesting programming here, but it works for Changeling, having Reapers just constantly tagging your opponent, and now all of a sudden it's dragging 7 Marines across the map, and they shall never catch that Reaper, I don't think. Now there is a Reaper in the natural base of ANIBot still, so ANIBot is having to deal with that. Changeling doesn't have that much defense back at home, however it does have a bunker, so that is very good. Looks like a grenade hit all those Marines as the minimap lit up like a Christmas tree. These Marines are going to kill that Reaper. There is a factory on the way for ANIBot, so we've yet to see any ghosts be built by the Blue Terran, or any indication that ghosts are coming, so maybe its build is a lie. And yeah, we do have a tank out for Changeling, couple of racks on the way here. And yeah, Viking on the way, extra starport on the way is very important. Changeling, aka Phobos. Well, I guess I should stop saying aka Phobos, as the bot authors are programming a different bot. So I do apologize about that. And yeah, just it is being like Phobos in that it does have multiple starports, so it really wants that air control, presumably to mesh well with tanks, like Phobos does so well. And yeah, we do finally have a Ghost Academy about to finish up for ANIBot, so we will see those promised ghosts. And that is going to be interesting, as we do have a Hellion for ANIBot, chases down and kills that Reaper. The first ghost is on the way. There's Combat Shield on the way. And economically, things are fairly even at this point. I do worry about the composition from ANIBot, though, because Ghosts and Marines do not do well against Viking and Tank, depending on the positioning and the engagement. And so I am really curious how this is going to potentially scale. Maybe we'll see the Ghosts EMP the Raven. That would be neat. Otherwise, Snipe isn't exactly good against Terran because Marines have such low HP. It's not really worth it. I mean, so EMP on the Raven, maybe some cloak ghost shenanigans is something you could see, but Ghosts and TVT really aren't popular for that reason. And then we do have this Hellion chasing down that Reaper. Oh my gosh, the engagement is so funny here. This is why you sometimes have to have your units sort of like overstep when they move. But again, very difficult to program things like that. There is a third base on the way for ANIBot. Changeling has yet to fire up its own third. It does have an armory on the way, so still just building up a strong 2-basing force. ANIBot, meanwhile, has got a high Marine count. 25 Marines in total. Combat Shield is done. No Combat Shield in sight for Changeling just yet. So Marine versus Marine could potentially go the way of ANIBot. We do have +1 on the way from Changeling, though. No such upgrade from ANIBot. And then we do have this Hellion. Will it get the Reaper? That's the question. It actually gets it that time. The Marines, meanwhile, are hanging around this location. Very cool how ANIBot just practically uses 6 Marines to clear out a base so that it will be an easy expansion, as it's sort of easier to preemptively free up a base instead of having your base be blocked and then try and clear like a Burrowed Zergling or a Widow Mine or something like that. Now, let's see, we do have this command center turning into an orbital, so the economy is going quite well for ANIBot. That being said, Changeling does have its own command center building on location, and look at that, a double expand from the Red Terran, so having very good expanding behavior. Changeling or ANIBot drops a scan, even though that expansion wasn't locked, so I'm guessing that's just a default behavior from ANIBot, that it just scans to ensure the base is clear, to ensure it will build, which isn't efficient, but it's a practical way of ensuring that that base is going to go up, which is cool. I do think it would probably be worth it just to have it try and build the expansion. If it fails, scan, then try and build it again. But it's little things like that, efficiency-wise, that does take a lot of time to program into your bot, a lot of effort, and it's just not that easy, as there's lots of factors and stuff. So yeah, just an honorable macro game between these two is what we're getting, which is not what I expected. ANIBot still continues to build just a weird number of ghosts in its army. We do get personal cloaking, so maybe the cloak ghosts will be the MVP in this game. Economy-wise, ANIBot is ahead on workers, 70 to 60. Changeling, though, is trying to take the lead base count, as it does have a 5th on the way on location. There is orbitals popping up all over the place. High-sec auto-tracking is researching for ANIBot. It does have a turret at its 4th base. Okay, it's getting a few. And then we just have lots and lots of marine production from ANIBot. Oh, we are actually getting a nuke on the way. Okay, I totally disregarded nukes as a possibility. I'm like talking about EMP, about cloak, snipe. There's one other ability that ghosts have, guys. It's the nuke. Now, to pull off a nuke in a bot game, I can only imagine is a nightmare to program, but ANIBot is going to give it the good old college try, so we will definitely keep eyes on that here. And yeah, let's see, Changeling going not just for its 5th, but getting a 6th base on the way, so there is going to be quite a few potential nuke targets from ANIBot. And then we do have, let's see, armor on the way for the Blue Terran, +1 is on the way. Both these bots are rolling with the upgrades. The Liberator's on the way out for ANIBot. We'll see if that harasses. It is making more tech building. Tech buildings, that is something that I think ANIBot does that's not dynamic. I think its building placement is hard-coded based off the chat messages we see, which is a good and a bad thing. I mean, it probably works all the time, but it doesn't really account for having ginormous mineral banks like it does presently. The Blue Terran is moving out for an attack, as it does have 60 Marines to 42. There is 5 tanks versus 6. There's Ghosts, there's Thors on the way now for ANIBot. No 5th on the way for ANIBot is another thing. I think it might just stay on 4 bases. There is a ANIBot saying you have Banshees as it sees 1 Banshee. So that's a very direct way of handling that. There is Ravens and Cyclones out to manage that, though, as ANIBot is ready for a fight. Changeling should be as well. Both of these bots are maxed out. Are we gonna have a situation where neither of them attacks? No. It does look like ANIBot is moving out for an attack, as these two are gearing up for a clash. ANIBot does notably take its 4th base very, very late. I believe it does eventually sometimes float bases over, but not taking a 5th is a little bit worrisome. Meanwhile, Phobos is going ham, adding in all this extra production. Currently, it's 9 racks to 6, 3 factories to 3, 2 starports to 1. Oh, pardon me. ANIBot is actually going for a fight as it charges forward. There is a Liberator set up. The Ghosts are dropping snipe on all the bio units, which it's actually pretty darn effective there. Now, whether the Ghosts actually doing things really matters in a game like this, because, I mean, there's mass amounts of tanks on both sides, so breaking those tank lines is very difficult. It remains to be seen if that will really affect things, but ANIBot took not a bad fight. 44 dead Marines, 12 dead Marauders to 55 Marines. There is a tank set up, some Cyclones causing problems at this base of Changeling. Tanks for ANIBot are just sieged up in the middle of the map. There is reinforcements being produced on both sides. Changeling, pardon me, has a lot of supply in Vikings that aren't doing too much, but there we have ANIBot now building its own Vikings. There is a lot of production here that's under threat. Now, Changeling is quite good about adding in more of this. However, yeah, the Medivacs not doing too much right now, as most of the bio is dead. There is lots of tanks out for Changeling, though, which I think if it just puts its tanks in good position should work. But there's ANIBot up to its famous trick of going for some Thor harassment, hitting a base. We'll see if it can actually kill this or not. I do believe Changeling probably has dynamic repair, so it will pull more SCVs to repair if this base needs that, I think. As I say that, it is getting dangerously low. Come on, pull more SCVs. Okay, so Changeling missing the mark with this repair does lose that. That's quite unfortunate. We do have Marines and tanks for ANIBot poking forward. Snipes going down on the Marines is cute, but the problem is there is 12 siege tanks that ANIBot does have to deal with. Picking off this one base is quite nice. We'll see if this Thor could maybe get another one. Changeling is just too focused on dealing with the main threat, the main army at the front. Both of these bots are maxed out, though, with big banks still. ANIBot still just on 4 bases. Changeling still trying to secure new expansions. However, this one Thor is trying to undo all that hard work as it comes on in and hits this orbital, potentially. Medivacs, tanks, Marines coming in to handle this, though. This one tank gets deleted pretty much instantly. ANIBot is poking in towards this location, though. Ghost cloaking. And there we have it. There's the first nuke, I believe, being utilized as a nuke gets queued up by ANIBot. And the Ghost is getting shot by the tank. Does it land? No, it doesn't land, unfortunately. Looks like the SCVs for Changeling may have ran away from that, which is incredible programming if that is the case. But unfortunately, the nuke, it just doesn't happen. And then because Terran's nukes would be OP otherwise, it does disappear into space as it doesn't get targeted correctly. Snipes are going down on these Marines that are trying to harass a little bit. ANIBot does eventually start up a 5th base. It's so interesting how late it builds its 5th base. Snipes going down on the Marines is actually working quite effectively. Vikings in the sky for both sides. Presently, well, ANIBot has actually taken the lead on the Vikings massively somehow, as it's now 12-0. So all the medivacs of Changeling will be in a bit of trouble. This Thor is still there causing problems, up to 29 kills. Marines are running in versus the Thor one by one. A Raven's hanging out too. We'll see if Changeling can potentially push in or deal with that Thor and stabilize, as it is currently down on supply, down on resources, as I guess ANIBot's harassment has just been too darn effective. This game has been absolute chaos to observe. Now this Thor may get this base, though. Changeling just doesn't seem programmed to pull enough SCVs off the line to repair the command center, which is not great. It is going for this big old tank push, and if it can siege the tanks up on this base, the base will probably die. The Marines that wander too far forward are definitely having a bad time, but man, oh man, ANIBot is pushing in. This Thor will run into a bunker, but the Thor actually outranges the units in the bunker. 7 versus 6 range for Marines in a bunker, so that's not good for Changeling. Still, though, Changeling has bases to burn. It's probably dropping a decent number of mules. Marines do clean up that upper right location. The tanks are inching forward. This is a phenomenal bot game between these two. Vikings working away on medivacs. And yes, we do have that tank line inching forward. Very good programming from both these authors. Looks like ANIBot didn't lift off its base there. We do have a scan being dropped by Changeling. Was that just one scan, or is that multiple? It almost looks like multiple for how bright it is, but maybe I'm wrong. So the Ghosts are forcing out scans from Changeling, which again, cloaked units are very strong in that sense, in that it is very difficult to program something to handle that. This base is being worked on, and Changeling is having a tough time. It's a bot that's more aggressive than defensive, so ANIBot's harassment is getting some good work done. Now, ANIBot maintains control of the skies. It's got a supply lead compared to its opponent. However, just dealing with 12 siege tanks is not easy. There's another nuke on the way. There's multiple Thors on the way, and we are getting Liberators produced by ANIBot. That is a darn big deal. If it can get some Liberators set up on the tanks, one Marine runs forward, it does get sniped. What's scarier than Ghosts? It's Ghosts that are controlled all independently and queue up a snipe literally anytime they can. So another Marine gets deleted. This strategy is so cool. Liberators are still being produced. None are out yet to get sieged up on these tanks. Changeling is tightening the noose on ANIBot. We'll see if it can handle this or not. There's a Liberator getting set up though, and the Marines are not enough to handle that. So ANIBot actually changing its composition to force its opponent back and potentially save its own life here. Like, these tanks really are the main thing that's going for Changeling. And yeah, it's just been a bit of a rough game for the Red Terran. ANIBot's Liberators are doing some good work. They lack any attack upgrades, so these tanks with their... Well, they don't actually have armor. They're just quite beefy here. But yeah, the Vikings controlling the skies, so the Liberators can gradually pick off these tanks. Vikings landing, and now ANIBot can move forward. It's got a much bigger bank than its opponent. While its opponent has no bank, it has secured more orbital commands, so while ANIBot is slow to expand, it does eventually get that done. Meanwhile, Changeling is having a hard time having some SCVs glitch out at this refinery, which isn't great. I mean, it's mining fine at other bases. But still, Changeling just doesn't have enough stuff, it seems, as it's having a hard time contending with ANIBot. Ghosts are going for more snipes. Now, I wonder if we will get a nuke, potentially, from ANIBot. I'm wondering what possible conditions you program. Maybe just having a ghost close to an opponent's base, something like that. A cloaked ghost. A cloaked ghost close to an opponent's base. The words are hard sometimes. Now we do have upgrades rolling for both sides. Changeling losing SCVs, so trying to rebuild them. It's pumping out lots and lots of Marines. They will have 3-2, so I mean their upgrades won't be bad, but ANIBot will have the inverse of 2-3. There's now +3 on the way, and the Blue Terran bot is moving forward, so Changeling may be crumpling here. Thor hit squad coming on in, and I'm pretty sure this orbital command is toast. And yeah, ANIBot just seems to have taken less damage than its opponent, and its army grouping and composition seems to be a little bit better. Where's the nuke? Show me the nuke. And, oh, we do actually get a nuke queued up once more. There's the hero ghost. I mean, this base is probably toast regardless, but I mean, if that's not darn cool, someone programming a bot to utilize nukes, some of those Vikings may actually get hit, and they do. Phenomenal work by ANIBot as the Blue Terran bot pushes forward, pushing for a victory. Thor is killing off more orbital commands. And yeah, Changeling just can't compete. It's lost resources at about almost 2-1 compared to its opponent. I mean, losing lots of Marines, lots of SCVs from the harassment has been the main one. 158 is a lot of damage. And then, yeah, now ANIBot, it's building a new nuke. So we'll see if it does try and nuke another base, but there we see Marines stepping forward, getting on top of these tanks. Ghosts now moving forward to finish the job. Very cool micro on them as they're now moving forward. EMP on the Raven. I mean, Ghosts with unlimited APM really has a lot of potential as they do move forward. SCVs could be in trouble. I'm wondering if we'll get another nuke called down potentially. But Changeling is definitely dead here. I think it's safe to say well done by ANIBot. It really is a good competitor. That's very entertaining to watch. There's another nuke getting queued on up by ANIBot. I mean, that base may die before the nuke lands. It may even nuke some of its own units here as the base dies, but there's the nuke. SCVs do scatter for Changeling, so mad respect to have anti-nuke programming. That is just next level as well, but still, it is going to be an ANIBot victory. So ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this one, this has been one of the best games I've cast in a while, I think. Click that like button. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches. And then subscribe if you're not already subscribed, as I am the only channel on YouTube that puts up daily bot videos. If you do want to support the channel, consider becoming a YouTube member. It goes a long way. And yeah, well done by both these bot authors. Very great game between them. GG.